Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome back to Ellen Foundation's Unheard Voices. I'm your host, Pam Price. I'm really excited to have my wonderful co-host today. That's who you are, Tracey. You're my co-host. She's across the pond.
Long way away.
Long way away. Tracey Mallia. And I am so honored to have her part of the show. And excuse me for moving around a little bit. I'm just trying to get situated here. Family, as you know, we've been talking about COVID and what it's done to families. And today, I just want to touch on the importance of understanding domestic violence during this COVID time. Yes, we've returned to some type of manageable life. We're getting back to some sense of normalcy, but we're not, and still a lot of places are not allowing people to go back into their jobs, and students are not able to go back to school. So those who are in a domestic violence situation are still at home, majority of the people, with their abuser. So if you follow us online and also on the radio broadcast on Blog Talk Radio, we talked about the importance of trying to find a safe space when you are still at home with your abusers. So before we go into that, I just want to go in and welcome Miss Tracey. Hi, Miss Tracey.
Hi, Miss Pam.
I'm so excited to have you today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you. So Tracey is actually one of our board members, and I'm so excited that she's on today and to help me continue this conversation. And as you guys know, Unheard Voices is all about bringing awareness to the community and providing resources for you. So Tracey, before we start, how about if you give our family a little bit of your background, where you're from, and then we're going to jump into our conversation.
Well, thank you very much. Fabulous introduction, Pam. Hello, everybody. And it's a beautiful day here in the UK, unseasonably. I just wanted to share that with everyone.
I wish we had some.
I'm from the UK. I live in a place called North Hertfordshire, and I live with my husband and our 2 fur babies. I got married late in life for the first time. I waited till I was 50, but I think I waited and got the right person.
Okay.
Having said that, I think I probably walked a bit of a tricky road in order to get to this point. And I say that due to the fact that I suppose, unfortunately, fell into a situation where I was in, I'd say, probably 2 distinct abusive relationships, physically abusive relationships. And I was talking to my husband the other day about this interview and about the current lockdown situation that we're in for the 3rd time.
That's right. You guys are back in a 3rd time.
Absolutely. And I saw an article in the newspaper, our local free newspaper, when I was having this discussion with my husband about the situation with domestic violence is heavily highlighted in the press currently because of the people, the women more so than men, but obviously men also suffer from domestic violence, that are trapped. Because in lockdown, of course, we're not allowed to go out. We can't go to our place of work. And the thought of being stuck in a house with an abuser where you are walking on eggshells, terrified, not knowing when this person is just going to literally flip, just like that. That must be horrendous. You are walking literally on a tightrope because you don't know what's going to happen next. And that fear that people are having to live with, along with the threat of COVID, but also the threat and just the general environment. And I remember living in that environment twice in my younger life. and it makes me feel cold. It really scares me, and I really feel for the people that are going through this.
Yeah. So Tracey, in your situation, how did you and when did you realize that it was time to go? Was it family? Was it friend? I mean, you don't have to go in full detail, but just enough so anyone that is watching that happens to come across this on the internet and they see this may be helpful for them to understand that there's always a way of escape. So, what was your process, and how did you get out of each situation?
I think in the first one, I was very much younger, but I don't know if that's an excuse or not, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm.
However, I was in that relationship for far too long. I knew it wasn't right,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I was in that weird situation that I think maybe some younger people go through, where they think something, I want to stay in this relationship because that abuser makes you feel that there's nothing else out there, that no
Mm-hmm.
one's going to bother with you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the status quo, let's leave as is. And that was really bad, because I think I was in that situation for far too long, and I just thought, it's okay, I'm just going to keep my head down, that's fine, we'll just
And
jog
just
along.
keep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was the epiphany for me was when I'd stayed over at his house share, and the next morning, taxi driver picked me up to bring me home, because I didn't drive at that time. I did drive, but I didn't have a car at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And he picked us both up before on several occasions, and he could see the a black eye, but the tail end of a black eye.
Wow.
And he said to me, I never forget this, and I think that's when the light bulb moment. He said to me, words to the effect of, because it's so long ago, enough is enough, you can do better than this, you perhaps you ought to rethink your life. And that, as I say, was a light bulb moment. And then it was actually the abuser. he met someone else and finished the relationship, but
Really?
that was soon after, but that's fine. And I got over that, and that was fine. And then fast forward a few years later, I met someone else, and the same sort of thing started to happen. Only I was a homeowner then, and I had my own property, and this person would come and stay with me quite frequently. And it was the problems, the abuse started again, and I was covering it up for when I saw my mum, who lived just down the road. And in the end, I met someone who enabled me, and I suppose took the cover off my eyes to say, this, you know, this is wrong. Stop covering up, stop making allowances, enough is enough. You have to change your life once and forever. Be strong enough to do it. And I'm quite I probably have what's described here as a hard outer shell, but quite a soft center.
We talked about that before.
We did,
yeah, because we're very similar. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm very direct. I say it how it is, but I'm actually quite soft-centered.
I know.
And, you know, that's
I cry at the drop of a dime.
yeah, exactly. And that's it. Oh, the floodgates open. And I had the help of someone, a friend, a male friend with no interest, nothing to gain from this whatsoever. He knew what happened, and he was an enabler for me. People come into your life at times for the right reason.
Absolutely.
And it's fate. I do believe it's fate. He came into my life and he empowered me to get this person out of my house and out of my life. It also took a house move, but that was part of a job move as well. When I wanted to change, it was a turning point in my life. I was strong enough emotionally to cut the ties, change everything in my life. So that is what I did. And I look back now and think, my goodness, I can't believe I let myself be in that situation for so long. However, easy to look back and say that, because I know how hard it is to be in that situation and there's no escape, or you don't have the emotional strength and wherewithal or financial ability to go on your own, to step away. That is key. But also now with COVID, even if you have the emotional strength and the financial wherewithal in order to make that break, you can't, because we are now restricted legally, and you are stuck with your abuser. And that's what brings me back to this newspaper article 2 weeks ago. And that is my concern.
Yeah, and what I found is, and I meant to do what the ratio is for domestic violence in comparison to the U.S. to the UK. But I did not, so I'm so sorry. I usually like to have that information, but I knew it was you, and I completely forgot because I knew we were going to have this great conversation. But I know I just wrote this piece a couple of days ago, and right now the ratio for women is 1 out of every 3 women in the US is in a domestic violence situation. And for men, which 2 years ago for men, it was 1 out of every 7 men. Now it's at 1 out of every 4 men are in a domestic violence situation. And that's only from those who are reporting, because not everybody's reporting these things because out of shame, and they don't want their family to know. And I can't even imagine understanding how that feels to be in that situation. But truth be told, Tracey, let me share with you. When I started, because I had a radio show on Radio One, and during Domestic Violence Month, which is in October, when I first really started trying to understand the signs and all these things, I was like, oh my gosh, I think everybody that I know has been in some type of domestic violence situation. And because you're arguing, people put you down and all these things. But to what extent? Because it's on that line where you're just trying to understand, am I when is enough enough? And I think, when I look back on some of the people that I've dated, or not even just in date, because we have to remember our family also puts us in domestic violence situation. It may not be the same. No, it can be, with the physical, but also the financial aspect of it. Family will withhold money. Your friends will alienate you as well. So, in every situation that we, and that's the collective we, are involved in, we have to make sure that these situations are for the best for both people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great knowing that, sorry, no, I phrased that wrong. It's one thing to have a physically abusive relationship, but there's also the mental abuse, the emotional abuse, the passive aggressive behaviors, the threats. Here in the UK, I obviously I don't know the legalities in the US, but here the law of England and Wales, by which we're judged by, is that threatening someone is abuse. It's assault. just a
Mm-hmm.
threat. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be physical. Um, and sometimes that can be as emotionally painful as physical violence is physically. I'm probably not articulating it very well. I know what I
No,
want to
no, I
say in my
got it.
head, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you see, and like you say, financial abuse, again, that's another thing as well. But we don't immediately think of that. We only think of physical. We forget the emotional abuse, the financial abuse, so many different
And the
aspects.
verbal,
And
you
of
think,
course, of course,
and you think about how many of our young people have um, have gone into their shell or even have killed themselves because of the bullying. I mean, that's a
yeah,
form of abuse.
abuse, absolutely.
Because people are so in tune in um, just making you feel worse or belittling you. That's, I guess that's the right word, where you feel that you are worthless, that
Yes,
you are, and it's really important where if you are in that type of situation, everybody has to come into their own. We can
yeah,
talk until we're blue in the face, but when you are ready, the most important thing in which I share with the people that we work with here and soon, hopefully, over in the UK, is that you got to have a plan of escape, because when it's time, you don't want to leave a home and to go to homelessness.
absolutely, absolutely right. And it's also about empowering someone emotionally. They need the emotional equipment to be able to make the first move. I think had when I look back in retrospect, had I been empowered emotionally earlier in these
Hmm.
relationships, I'd have
Hmm.
dealt with them very, very differently. But I didn't have the emotional equipment,
Yeah.
and that's really important, because if you're emotionally equipped, you can deal with the bullier, the abuser.
Hmm.
You can deal with all of this.
All of it. You
Absolutely.
know what I like about this time versus when we were growing up, and because it seems like two different worlds from
Yeah.
when we were growing up. um Back when I was younger, I mean, this type of conversation was never had.
No.
I don't know. Yeah, over in the UK, we never
No.
talked about it. We always felt that if something was going on in a family's home, that's their business, and we don't
Yes.
need to get involved.
Yes.
We're now, I would say, relatively, hmm, I would say the past 10 years, maybe, is when the conversation has just been so open
Yeah.
and so there, because it's the forefront. And sad to say that it really did not become as big until the celebrities got involved, and they're coming out and they're speaking out
Yeah.
against abuse.
Yes.
So that's a good thing, but to me it's like, why did it take so long, until some popular person decides to come out and say, hey, I was in a abusive relationship. But even with that, this is a good conversation, Tracey, and I'm so
I believe
glad
so.
that you shared that. And family, I just wanted to just remind you that this is not a conversation to glorify what is happening in a abusive relationship.
No.
This is just to let you know that you, number one, are not alone,
Mm.
that everybody has some sense of domestic violence or has a family member or a friend. So Tracey, I don't know if you read my story on the website,
I
and
did.
how this has become so passionate
Yes.
with me. And what I realize is that when someone that you care about is going through that domestic violence situation, that you yourself go through it as well. It's like your second and your third person also go into, like, your family goes through it with you, your best friends go through it with you, your children go through it with you.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody needs to, and for me, how I came to terms with it was, to talk about it, to have the conversation, to
Yeah.
put it out there, to turn around and, pay a path forth to make sure people are aware
Yeah.
that even though it's just one person, it's just, oh, it's just my cousin who's in the domestic violence situation, but in the interim, that affects their family, that affects you, down the
Yeah.
line, it does become an effect. So I highly recommend that, if you or someone that are in a domestic violence situation, first and foremost, dial 911 here in the US. What's the emergency number in the UK?
It's 999.
Is it really? Yeah, it's 911 here. So family, wherever you're listening to is, you know, dial these numbers, get in contact with Ellen Foundation, because we do have, two counselors that work with domestic violence. Um, uh, Families who are in domestic violence situations, or who have come out of domestic violence situation. You heard my Poochie. He's saying good morning to everybody.
Hey, Simba.
Yeah. And, so definitely visit our website, which is www.thelmfoundation.org. Fill out the contact list, or if you cannot get onto social media, give us a call at 301-304-6651. It's amazing. I can now, I said to myself, I'm going to remember these phone numbers so I don't have to keep looking at them, because if something happened, I got to remember I can call somebody. So, Tracey, before we close, what would you suggest, a plan of action for someone that is ready to leave? And what would you suggest for them to do?
Speak out
Mm-hmm.
to one or more that you consider safe people that you can speak to. Have, I suppose it's like a go bag, a bag that
Mm-hmm.
you can hide somewhere, again, safe, that you can put anything that you want to take with you, papers, anything financial, anything that you think you'd never need to go back for. And then when you are ready to make your move and when you have somewhere to go, most importantly, in order to avoid becoming homeless, go.
Mm-hmm.
Cut ties. When you are emotionally strong enough, cut the ties, go. Everything you do can be redone in the future. All the positives.
Absolutely.
You can get another job, you can rebuild your life, you can get somewhere else to live, but you can't rebuild your body if it's broken physically and mentally.
Mm-hmm. That's a good word. I like that. Because you can always rebuild, and, what people have, I'm glad now people are stating that regardless of age, you can always rebuild your life.
Yeah.
People are living longer. And, so even if you're in your 50s or your 60s, you still have, God willing, an additional, 20, 30 years, 20 years, 15 years, whatever. That's still a good amount of time to say, you know what, I've spent majority of my life in this situation. I'm going to go be happy,
Yeah,
you
you
know.
have to put yourself
Yeah,
first.
yeah,
Yeah.
yourself and your family. So I am so excited. I'm so glad I get to see you today, and I'm so happy. And we're going to be in touch more, and your family, you're going to get to see Tracey's beautiful face even the more, because we got a lot of work that's coming down the line, and I'm so happy to have her as part of my team, here in the U.S. And, so we're going to be doing some work, across the pond.
Looking forward
For
to it.
sure. So, family, as Tracey mentioned, that make sure you have a plan of escape. Don't just leave just to leave. Sometimes, if you got to go, just definitely go with a police officer. So that way you will be in a safe care and they will help you find somewhere to go if you have to leave immediately. But if you are in the planning stages, make sure, as Tracey said, you have your important documents, and just have a plan. Make sure you have funds to stay at least a night, couple of nights in a hotel, so you can regroup and then get ready to leave. If you're not certain of how to do that, feel free to contact, as I said, LM Foundation. You can send us an email at info@thelmfoundation.org. Again, that's info@thelmfoundation.org. And also, Tracey, I'm just going to change the subject really quick. Family, if you are in the Washington, D.C. metro area and you are in need of food, please let us know by calling, again, 301-304-6651. Email us as well so we can make sure that we get you some food and toiletries. I know people have started going back, but, even once you get back and you're starting coming out of no work, or you're finally starting to receive your unemployment again. There's still a lot of time in there where you still need a little help. So please, please, please shoot us an email, give us a call, and we'll be there to help you. If you're outside of the metro area and you don't know where to go, we'll put you in touch with someone in your local area that's able to help you. So Tracey, got any last words?
Stay strong, know what you're doing, and get out when it's safe for you to do so. That's all I can say. And I'd like to say, Pam, thank you so much. I'm honoured to be part of this. I really, really am. Even though I'm 5,000-6,000 miles away. It's a huge honour.
I know. I'm so glad that that God put us together, and like we've stated, that there's always a purpose, and I truly believe if even outside of LM Foundation, I honestly believe that God is going to do great things in you. So hold on and watch what he does. I believe you have a great gift. So family, I appreciate my co-host. I love her to death. She keeps me straight and narrow, make sure I'm on time with So family, continue to tune in. If you have not listened to any of our previous shows, you can always go back to Blog Talk Radio, search for Ellen Foundation Unheard Voices, and take a listen to what we're doing. Visit our website. Family, have a great day. Tracey, enjoy that weather. Send some sunshine here to the deep metro area, and I'll chat with you soon. Great conversation. All right. Bye, beautiful.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.